Stepbrother ruined my career, spied on me, and hid my twin. The shocking betrayal will leave you speechless. They read my private therapy notes out loud in court. I could still hear the echo of Angel's voice as he smirked across the courtroom, repeating my own words. I sometimes feel like a burden to everyone. The judge's eyes flicked to me, and for a second I couldn't breathe. The smell of sweaty gym clothes filled the room from the officer standing near the witness stand, and I thought, this is what humiliation smells like. I'd spent years trying to heal from what he'd done, and now he was weaponizing my own pain. What led to that moment started 2 years earlier, on a weekend morning that seemed like nothing special except that it was the day Angel began dismantling my life piece by piece. It was April 10th, 2023. I was sitting in my tiny kitchen in Denver, half awake, eating leftover spicy curry from the night before. It was the one thing that could wake me up better than coffee. I was earning $3,200 a month at the time, working as a logistics coordinator for a shipping firm. Steady, boring, but safe. Angel, my stepbrother, had just moved in temporarily after his second startup failed. He was 30, charming, always networking. My dad used to say Angel could sell ice to penguins. What Dad never noticed was that he usually stole the ice first. "Bro, you've got another interview Monday," he asked, scrolling through my emails on the shared laptop before I even answered. "You should let me coach you. I know how to impress execs." I remember hesitating. Sure, I guess. That was the first mistake. Angel had a way of making generosity feel like obligation. After my parents, I'd gotten used to being the peacemaker, the one who didn't argue, who let others lead. It made me an easy target. Angel began helping with everything. He'd rewrite my resume, tell me to trust him with my references, even pick out my shirts. I thought he cared. He'd say things like, "You just need someone to manage the details you overthink." At first, interviews came and went, and I thought maybe I was just unlucky. Then came the email I wasn't supposed to see. One Saturday morning, while Angel was in the shower, I used the laptop to apply for another job. His Gmail tab was open, and a thread caught my eye. Subject line, Ray, candidate Lionel Rivers. It was from a recruiter. The message read, "Thanks for letting us know Lionel has been under disciplinary review at his last company. We'll pass for now." My heart stopped. I'd never been under review. Angel had written that email pretending to be my old boss. I remember pacing the kitchen, my graduation ring clicking against the countertop, that little metallic sun syncing with my pulse. Why would he do this? When I confronted him, he laughed. "Bro, relax, I was protecting you. That job was garbage. You'd hate it." "Protecting me? You lied about me?" "Lionel," he said in that calm, infuriating tone, "you're not built for that kind of pressure. You'd relapse." He was talking about my depression, the one I'd managed with meds for years. Except around that time, the medication had stopped working entirely. The nights got darker. The interviews dried up, and Angel's voice became the only one in my head. After Dad passed the following winter, the inheritance became the unspoken elephant in every conversation. The estate was worth around $4.05 million, most of it in property. Angel started handling paperwork for the lawyers, saying he'd make sure everything was fair. The fairness in Angel's world was just another word for control. One Sunday, I found Kevin, our younger brother, only 23, then crying in the garage. "He said you don't want anything from Dad's estate," Kevin whispered. "He told the lawyers you signed a waiver." I hadn't signed anything. That was the second red flag. I wish I'd listened to my instincts right then. But trauma teaches you to doubt yourself, to rationalize the absurd. After that, I'd learned to survive by pretending everything was fine. I told myself Angel was just misguided, that families fought worse and still recovered. I wanted to believe that love could fix deceit. It wasn't until months later, when I lost my apartment, my job prospects, and my sense of self, that I realized Angel wasn't protecting me. He was erasing me. And the worst part? Everyone believed him. I started keeping my windows shut, even in summer. It sounds paranoid now, but back then, paranoia was survival. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, certain someone had been watching me. My nightmares weren't just dreams, they were flashbacks of Angel's voice telling me, "You'd relapse if I didn't keep an eye on you." After that, I used to think I'd learned independence. But Angel had turned it into dependence disguised as care. He paid for groceries sometimes, made helpful phone calls to my job, and told me I owed him loyalty. Then Kevin started pulling away. My one ally. My little brother. It was a weekend morning in late May. The smell of burnt toast and instant coffee filled my kitchen. Kevin came over wearing his gym clothes, still sweating from his workout. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Lionel," he said, sitting down, "Angel told me you're planning to contest Dad's will. Is that true?" My stomach twisted. "No, why would I do that?" He said you're desperate for money, that you're not well. That word again. Not well. I remember the way the spicy curry from last night churned in my gut, like acid. "Kevin, you know me. You've seen the paperwork. I haven't touched anything." He sighed, rubbing his face. "Angel showed me emails, said you're harassing the lawyer." My pulse started pounding. "What emails?" He shrugged. "He said you'd deny it." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, scrolling through my phone, rereading every text I'd sent anyone. I even emailed the lawyer, pretending it was a casual inquiry. Hi, just checking if there's been any issue with my file. I'm hearing strange things. The lawyer replied an hour later. Your correspondence with us has been concerning. We'd appreciate if you communicate only through Angel going forward. I stared at that message until my vision blurred. Angel had officially replaced me in my own family's affairs. 3 days later, I got my first panic attack in years. It hit while I was at work Tuesday, 2:46 p.m. I'll never forget that time. I was formatting a shipment report when my chest tightened, my hands went numb, and I couldn't breathe. My manager, a woman named Carla, called 911. At the ER, the doctor said, "You're overworked, maybe cut back on caffeine." If only it were that simple. When I returned to the office 2 days later, people were whispering. My coworkers avoided eye contact. Someone had clearly told them something. Later, I'd find out exactly what Angel had called Carla out of concern and told her I was having psychotic episodes. After that, my workload decreased, my responsibilities were reevaluated, and by July, I was quietly let go. HR said it was a restructuring decision, but I could see pity in their eyes. That was the summer my depression meds stopped working entirely. My therapist, Dr. Patel, tried adjusting the dosage, but nothing helped. "You've been through prolonged psychological stress," she said gently. "It's not just chemical, it's situational. You're under siege." Under siege. That phrase stuck with me. She asked if I felt safe at home. I lied and said yes. But the truth was, I'd started noticing small things, objects slightly moved, a notebook gone missing, my blinds half open in the morning when I was sure I'd closed them. One night, while taking the trash out, I saw my neighbour Mrs. Killerman, midman 60, standing near her fence, watching me. She smiled. "Rough week again, Lionel." I nodded awkwardly. "Yeah, you could say that." She smirked. "Angel told me to check in on you, said you've been fragile." That word made my blood run cold. 2 weeks later, I found out she was being paid. Angel had slipped her cash to make sure I was safe, which really meant to make sure I was controllable. I finally confronted Angel on June 29th, 2024. I remember the date because it was Dad's birthday. I stormed into the living room, where he was lounging on the couch, scrolling through my LinkedIn on his phone. "Did you pay my neighbour to spy on me?" I asked. He didn't even look up. "You're imagining things again. Stop gaslighting me." I shouted, shaking. "I saw the messages, Angel." He sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Lionel, you can't keep making everything into an attack. People are worried about you." That's when our Aunt Martha walked in, our father's sister, the enabler. "Lionel," she said softly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Maybe Angel's just trying to help. You've been so unstable since the inheritance mess." I pulled away. "Unstable because he's destroying me." Her face hardened. "You sound paranoid." And just like that, my credibility evaporated. That night, I sat on the floor with my old college graduation ring in my hand, trying to remember who I used to be. The Lionel who worked hard, who believed people were good. Now, I couldn't trust anyone. Not my family. Not my neighbours. Not even my own thoughts. But somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Angel wanted control. I wanted truth. And the truth always leaks out eventually. I never thought I'd find out about my twin in a dentist's office. It was September 14th, 2024, a quiet Saturday morning. I was sitting in the waiting room of Evergreen Dental, nervously chewing on a piece of stale gum. My therapist had recommended a routine checkup for grounding, and I figured a dentist couldn't lie to me, right? The receptionist handed me a form, emergency contact. I typed in my mother's old address, the one she lived in before Dad remarried. Then I saw a note in the file, sibling, "Lionel Rivers' twin Angel has sealed all adoption records." I froze. My chest tightened. My graduation ring dug into my palm like it was warning me. A twin. Hidden. All this time. The betrayal hit in waves. Angel had known. He'd known my whole life. And all those helpful interventions. They weren't protection, they were control, hiding me from a part of myself that I had a right to know. I rushed home and tore through old files. That's when I found it recordings. Hidden voice memos on an old backup phone from 2019. Angel talking to our neighbour, Mrs. Killerman, to a recruiter, even to my own HR. "Lionel can't be trusted. Keep him under watch. Make sure he doesn't get independent employment." I replayed the recordings over and over. My own voice from interviews twisted into lies by Angel, my panic attacks documented, my depression weaponized. I was shaking, tears running down my face. The trauma I had endured, nightmares, anxiety, panic attacks had been manufactured to keep me weak. My trust had been ripped apart layer by layer. Even Kevin had been manipulated into dadding me. The betrayal wasn't isolated. I confronted Mrs. Kellerman. "You were paid to spy on me?" I demanded, voice cracking. She shrugged. "I was just doing what Angel said. He's family. You wouldn't understand." I left with nausea churning in my stomach. Every neighbour, every small community interaction, now felt like surveillance. Every whispered conversation at the grocery store, every sideways glance paranoia became my new normal. Work wasn't spared either. Carla, my former manager, called me one morning. "Lionel, people are still talking," she said quietly. "Some co-workers, they're upset. They thought you were unstable." $3,200 a month, a modest salary, a tiny apartment, but now I felt exposed and powerless. The whispers, the sideways glances, the pity, it was relentless. Even therapy was a minefield. Dr. Patel said, "This isn't just medication-resistant depression, this is trauma from systematic betrayal. Your nervous system has been rewired." I nodded numbly. Panic attacks came randomly Tuesday at 11 a.m., Thursday at 7:03 p.m., Friday during a grocery run. Nightmares became so vivid I'd wake up screaming, sometimes holding my college graduation ring in a death grip. And the lawyers. I learned that Angel had been intercepting communications for Dad's estate. He'd convinced the lawyer to ignore my inquiries, citing concerns for your mental health. Meanwhile, he funneled assets, controlled inheritance discussions, and kept Kevin, my supposed ally, on his side by gaslighting him. By October, I realized my entire life had been meticulously sabotaged. My career, my finances, my health, and even my identity. Angel had weaponized the people around me. Even my support network, the few friends who hadn't been manipulated, started to fracture. Rumours spread, whispers about Lionel's instability, and I felt the shame like a second skin. It all came to a head when I saw him at the grocery store, his smirk practically taunting me. "You okay, bro?" he asked, holding his sabotaging bag. "I'm fine," I said, voice tight. But inside, my mind was racing. I realized then that if I didn't fight back, my life would remain controlled forever. I couldn't undo the years, but I could reclaim my narrative. And I had proof. The recordings. The emails. The evidence of manipulation, sabotage and betrayal. I started cataloguing everything, every instance of lies, deception and abuse. This wasn't just personal, it was legal, financial, and psychological. Angel had overplayed his hand, and deep down I knew the revelation of my twin would change everything. Therapy would be inevitable. Recovery would be painful. But it also meant that for the first time, I wasn't alone in this story. There was another me out there, hidden, that no one could manipulate. That night, I slept little. I clutched my college graduation ring, feeling a strange mix of grief and empowerment. Angel had taken almost everything, but he hadn't taken the one thing he couldn't control, the truth. I would make him answer for it. I never imagined a job interview could feel like walking into a courtroom. It was November 18th, 2024, 10:15 a.m. at a sleek tech firm on 1420 Walnut Street. The lobby smelled faintly of coffee and polished wood. My hands shook as I smoothed the front of my shirt, my college graduation ring pressing cold against my finger. Angel had told me I wouldn't get this job that the interviewers had danced about me. I had a folder. Inside, emails, forced memos, screenshots, proof of every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal. I wasn't walking in as Lionel Rivers, the victim. I was walking in as Lionel Rivers, the man who had the receipts. The interviewer, a woman named Sandra, smiled warmly. "Lionel, tell me about your last position." I paused. My throat was dry, my heart hammering. Before I answer, I need to clarify something serious about my previous employer. I laid the folder on the table. Everything here shows the sabotage I faced, from fake HR complaints to manipulated emails, all orchestrated by my stepbrother, Angel Rivers. Sandra raised an eyebrow. "Your stepbrother?" "Yes, he intercepted communications, paid neighbours to spy on me, manipulated my inheritance, and sabotaged every job opportunity over the last 3 years. I have the proof here." Her eyes widened. She reached for the first memo and scanned it, then looked up. This is incredible. I've never seen anything like this. Why didn't you bring this earlier?" I was afraid no one would believe me, I admitted, voice shaking. Everyone in my life, including my own family, thought I was unstable. Just then, my phone buzzed. A notification from LinkedIn. Angel had RSVP'd to my interview. He was there. Watching. Waiting. He stepped out of the lobby with that same infuriating smirk. "Lionel, what is all this?" "I'm exposing you," I said, standing. "You've ruined my life, manipulated my mental health, and controlled my inheritance. You lied about me to every recruiter, my neighbours, even my own brother, and I have recordings." He laughed, the kind that made my stomach twist with disgust. "You don't know how to play the game, bruh. People like me, we win." Sandra put a hand on my folder. "Angel, are you here to interfere?" He faltered. For the first time, I saw hesitation. I just wanted to. "You lied," I said, my voice steady now cold. "And everyone will see it. These recordings, these emails, they're going to lawyers, HR, even public channels if necessary. This stops now." The moment was electric. My panic, my years of depression, the nightmares, the betrayals all condensed into a single, blazing confrontation. Sandra looked at me, eyes bright with disbelief. "Lionel, I believe you. We'll move forward with your application, and we're going to make sure your references are contacted properly." Angel's face paled. He opened his mouth, but no words came. I remembered every sleepless night, every whispered conversation, every sideways glance from coworkers who had started treating me like I was fragile or unstable. All of it came crashing into my chest. And then a twist. I played the last recording on my phone. It was Angel, instructing the HR department at my previous company to fabricate concerns about me. Sandra gasped. Even I had to sit down after hearing it. He sounded so casual, so smug. The fallout was immediate. Angel was escorted out by security. I stayed behind with Sandra and the HR rep, explaining every detail. For the first time, someone listened without judgment. After the interview, I walked into the crisp November air, clutching my graduation ring. I felt a strange mixture of exhaustion, vindication, and release. My hands still shook, but this time it wasn't panic, it was adrenaline. I knew legal action would follow. Lawsuits. Public humiliation. Angel couldn't lie anymore. And the hidden twin? That secret became a thread of hope. If Angel had tried to erase part of my identity, I now had the power to reclaim it. I called Kevin later that night. I have evidence, I said. I'm not asking you to believe me, I'm asking you to see it. He didn't respond immediately. Then, I'm sorry, Lionel, I didn't see it. I see it now. It was the first crack in Angel's manipulation, the first time our fractured family had a chance at truth. For the first time in years, I felt a flicker of control. The nightmares wouldn't disappear instantly. The panic attacks wouldn't vanish overnight. But I had drawn a line in the sand. Angel had been powerful. But truth, evidence, proof, human resilience was stronger. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't afraid to fight back. The victory at the interview felt surreal. I thought I'd feel relief, triumph, but instead, I sank deeper. The week after, my phone never stopped buzzing. Lawyers, reporters, former co-workers, some sympathetic, some curious, some accusatory. The city felt smaller than ever. Whispers followed me everywhere, at the grocery store, in my building's lobby, even when I went to pick up the mail. Every sideways glance screamed, they know. They all know. I started keeping my blinds closed, windows locked. The smell of sweaty gym clothes from Kevin's visits used to be comforting. Now it made me nauseous. I couldn't bear the reminder of physical proximity to anyone, even family. Therapy sessions with Dr. Patel became my lifeline, but they were brutal. You're experiencing complex PTSD, she said during one late November appointment. I was hunched over, clutching my graduation ring like a talisman. The nightmares, hypervigilance, panic attacks, trust issues, it's textbook for prolonged manipulation and betrayal. I nodded, tears streaming. I thought the confrontation would make it stop, but it hasn't. It's not linear, she reminded me. Your nervous system has been rewired, you're healing from a siege that lasted years. Some nights, I would wake screaming from dreams where Angel was whispering through my bedroom window. Sometimes I'd have to leave my apartment, pacing the street until dawn to calm my chest and breathing. I'd lose hours, days, in sheer exhaustion. Socially, I was a ghost. Friends who hadn't known the full story kept their distance after the interview leaked online. Co-workers whispered about me behind my back, some offering sympathy that felt like judgment. Even Kevin's presence was tentative, guilt-coated. Public humiliation became its own trauma. People in my neighbourhood, once casual acquaintances, now looked at me like I was fragile, unstable, or worse, dangerous. Every interaction reminded me of Angel's manipulations. Every raised eyebrow, every half-smile, felt like proof that I was still powerless. I lost sleep, appetite, and at one point, $3,200 in rent nearly slipped through my fingers because I couldn't focus. The combination of financial strain, professional sabotage, and betrayal had stripped away the core of who I believed I was. There were moments when I questioned myself entirely. Maybe Angel was right, I whispered into the bathroom mirror one night, staring at the pale reflection of a man I barely recognized. Maybe I can't handle life on my own. Then I'd remember the recordings. The hidden twin. The undeniable evidence of betrayal. And I'd catch myself just before I fell into complete despair. Even therapy couldn't fix everything immediately. Dr. Patel added MDIS sessions and cognitive behavioral exercises to help rewire my responses. One night, she said, Lionel, you have to separate fact from fear. You've been trained to anticipate betrayal at every turn. That isn't who you are, it's what was done to you. I wanted to scream. How could I tell her the worst wasn't just Angel, it was the whole network he created? The neighbour, the enabler, even Kevin, unknowingly complicit. Every betrayal was layered, every trust fractured. The rock bottom wasn't a single moment, it was cumulative. It was the panic attack while eating leftover spicy curry alone in my apartment at 3 a.m. It was finding a voicemail from a former coworker whispering about Lionel's instability. It was waking up drenched, clutching my graduation ring, convinced that Angel had somehow broken into my apartment again. I realised then that the legal and public victories didn't undo the psychological damage. They didn't erase the years of subtle abuse, the rewired thinking, or the trauma-induced trust issues. Even as Angel faced his first public humiliation, I was trapped inside my own mind. Every success felt hollow against the backdrop of isolation. But in those depths, I made a quiet decision. If I was going to survive, I couldn't rely solely on vindication or the law. I had to rebuild myself, brick by brick. Therapy, support networks, daily routines, even if small, would become the tools for reclaiming my life. For now, though, I allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to feel the full weight of betrayal, humiliation, and shattered trust. I allowed the tears to flow, the panic attacks to rage, the nightmares to come. Because only by facing the lowest point could I eventually climb. And climb I would. Recovery didn't happen overnight. It happened in tiny, deliberate steps, each one carved from sheer determination. It was January 2025, a cold Sunday morning. Snow lined the streets outside my Denver apartment. I brewed a cup of strong coffee and sat with my old college graduation ring in my palm. I had started therapy sessions 3 times a week with Dr. Patel, including EMDR and trauma-focused CBT. Each session peeled back layers of anxiety, each exercise rewired years of learned helplessness. The first breakthrough came when I created a schedule. Weekdays were work, gym, therapy, weekends were for self-care and rebuilding trust. I started small, a walk around the block, grocery shopping, cooking my favourite spicy curry. Sensory rituals, Dr. Patel explained, helped ground me in reality and fight the PTSD hypervigilance. Then came the Survivor Network. I discovered an online community for adult survivors of manipulative family abuse. I shared my story cautiously at first. Angel's sabotage, the neighbour paid to spy, the aunt who excused everything, even the hidden tornado just uncovered. Responses poured in. You're not alone, though I went through the same thing. You're stronger than you realise. For the first time in years, I felt validation, not pity, not whispers, not judgment. These were people who understood the psychological trauma, the nightmares, the trust issues, the panic attacks. They knew what it was like to have your life rewired by someone who claimed to love you. I began documenting everything formally. The recordings, emails, messages, and proof of financial manipulation became organised for legal purposes. I filed multiple lawsuits, not just to recover finances and career credibility, but to publicly expose Angel's systematic abuse. Each legal victory was a small reclamation of my dignity. I also reconnected with Kevin slowly. I see it now. He admitted one evening, sitting on my couch in his sweaty Purse gym t-shirt. I didn't realise how much he controlled everything, even me. I'm sorry, I doubted you. I nodded. It's not your fault. He's good at what he does, but we have to rebuild. Together, we reached out to our hidden twin, finally making contact. Therapy sessions became joint sessions at times, unpacking decades of secrets, understanding the deliberate erasure of family history, and building a shared narrative of resilience. At work, I finally landed a new position. A hiring manager, Sandra, had been pivotal in believing my story and giving me a chance. I started with a salary slightly higher than my previous $3,200/month. Every task I completed, every meeting I attended, reminded me that competence, not sabotage, defined me. Publicly, Angel's humiliation continued. Recordings I had provided were used in court hearings, showing the depth of manipulation. People who had doubted me faced the uncomfortable truth. I didn't celebrate in cruelty, I celebrated in survival. Most importantly, I reclaimed my mental health. Medication was adjusted, therapy sessions became proactive instead of reactive, and I developed coping strategies for triggers, nightmares, social scrutiny, panic attacks. I could eat curry without dread, open my windows without fear, and leave the blinds up without trembling. I also began volunteering in survivor support groups locally, mentoring others who had endured family sabotage, manipulation, and psychological abuse. Sharing my story in person, feeling the nods of recognition, the tears, the relief of others who finally felt understood, it was cathartic. By mid-Minus 2025, I realised I had rebuilt not just a life, but an identity independent of Angel's control. I had a twin I could trust, a brother I reconciled with, a community of survivors, and a career I earned through merit. I had learned to recognise betrayal, defend boundaries, and demand respect. I looked at my college graduation ring one evening, spinning it between my fingers. It was more than a piece of metal. It symbolised endurance, memory, and now, victory. Angel had tried to race me, but I had emerged. Not just intact, but stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. My scars didn't vanish, they reminded me of the journey, the trauma, the moments I thought I'd never survive. But scars also reminded me I could heal. I finally felt peace. Not the naive peace of ignorance. Not the hollow peace of resignation. True peace, the peace of someone who fought, endured, and reclaimed their life against overwhelming odds. I wasn't just Lionel Rivers, the Stepbrother's victim. I was Lionel Rivers, survivor, advocate, brother, and finally free.